When Utah's mentioned in the New York Times, it's almost never a good thing. Happy Halloween, and today's Fresh Hill is Utah's new treatment-first approach to homelessness. The state of Utah announced its new plan for a services campus on the west side of Salt Lake City, literal mosquito swampland, where it plans to have 1,300 unhoused people, but people that care about people have classified this as a detention camp. After a very secretive search, the Homeless Services Board announced this new campus. The new head of this organization is a guy named Randy Shumway, who is a consultant turned homelessness czar. And this new service center is going to have an involuntary accountability center, and that includes 400 psychiatric beds for court-ordered treatment for mental illness, 400 addiction recovery beds as alternatives to jail, and this is all going to be run by law enforcement quote-unquote rescue teams that will find people that are homeless and offer them a choice. You can either go to court or go to this campus. And this center, you cannot come and go on your own. You have to stay there. It's essentially a prison, another prison.
Donald Trump issued an executive order that called for strict camping bans, expanded power to involuntarily treat homeless individuals, and the creation of large tent cities on cheap land. Governor Cox was very excited by this executive order, and he immediately told state leaders and cities to follow it. Utah has been a somewhat pioneer in addressing homelessness. We first approached this through what they called the housing first model, where we reduced homelessness by getting people into housing before addressing addiction or mental illness. We are apparently pioneering the next iteration, which they are calling the treatment first approach, tying basic shelter to compliant sobriety and submission. So the New York Times, in the piece that they released this week, interviewed some homeless folks in Pioneer Park, and one of them said, okay, so straight up, this reminds me of a concentration camp.
The cost for this services campus has a price tag of $75 million just for the construction. And it's going to cost $34 million annually to operate. And don't worry, we are a fiscally conservative state. We're just going to cannibalize current housing efforts instead of putting more money into solving this very important problem. Josh Romney, son of Mitt Romney, cautioned the state, saying that diverting $17 million from these other organizations will increase homelessness. He said we're going to be pulling people out of housing and into homelessness because of this plan.
On October 30th, Governor Cox named Representative Tyler Clancy as the next state's homelessness coordinator. Tyler Clancy is not a homelessness expert. He is not an addiction treatment expert. He's not a social worker. He's not anything in the field of homelessness. Tyler Clancy is a cop. This is a sign that Governor Cox wants to treat homelessness with law enforcement and compliance. Tyler Clancy was the former executive director of the Pioneer Park Coalition, who renamed themselves Solutions Utah. Their entire approach to homelessness was often get help or go to jail, which sounds familiar to all of this. As a legislator, Tyler Clancy has spent his last 2 legislative sessions building policy that follows that exact same approach. So now our entire homelessness strategy is in the hands of law enforcement rather than local government. Tyler Clancy plans to resign from the legislature after the 2026 legislative session, and then his seat will be up. That is a more competitive district than one might think. It's in the Provo area.
The new surge of interest on Utah's homelessness plan comes at a really critical point in Utah. We had an 18% increase in a single year. That is the largest jump that we have seen in recent history. A lot of the reason that this has happened is because of rising housing costs, stagnated wages, underfunded mental health and substance use disorder treatments, and on top of that, we are seeing people losing their SNAP benefits, people losing their Medicaid and Medicare, people's health insurance going up, all kinds of things that are going to push more people into homelessness. And now we are seeing Utah treating homelessness like a crime and essentially putting people into a prison in the middle of nowhere if they are homeless. These are the repercussions of the choices that people make in office and who we vote for. When talking about this new campus, Governor Cox said this is a statement of who we are as a state. And he is exactly right about that. When we talk about people that are homeless like they are problems to be solved, or every one of them has mental illness or substance use disorder, or it's their own fault for not working hard enough, we are doing a huge disservice not only to ourselves, but to our neighbors. You know more people than you think you do that are one financial incident away from being homeless. A lot of people that are on food assistance that you have no idea are on food assistance. These are our neighbors, these are our friends, these are our family members, and continuing to not treat people that are homeless with any sort of dignity or compassion or respect at all leads to this kind of model where they are involuntarily locked up and forced to be in a place that they do not want to be in. And that should be frightening to everyone in this country, frankly.